So to start this playlist off, the first exam topic I see on the CCNA exam blueprint from the CCNA website is router. So I'll be breaking down the role of the router in the network, as well as the top 3 functions of a router I believe are important on building your skills and your knowledge when you're studying this topic. So if you're that brave warrior just starting your CCNA journey and starting this playlist with me, welcome. Or if you're just trying to refresh your skills and just want some easy to understand content and just a simple breakdown of this topic, y'all definitely have locked in with the right channel. What's happening? I'm the Network Ninja, and I created this channel to grow a community of IT pros all dedicated to training on their IT skills on a frequent basis, so that we can all experience personal and professional growth at the highest level. So I'd like to first just define what the role of a router is. A router is used to connect networks together with the purpose of delivering the packets or the data between them. So whenever you first begin in networking, you're usually going to come across an analogy, if you haven't already, about the postal delivery system when it comes to routing. This is the most relatable concept for routing, I believe, as a real world example. So in this example, you're going to have a house, right? And this house can be representative of like a PC on a network. So if that PC wants to communicate with a PC that's not on its local network or in its neighborhood, right, it will have to send that info to the router or to the postal department. This would be the equivalent of sitting there writing a letter, which would be your packet, your network packet. And just as the house has a physical address with a street number, street name, and a zip code, so does the packet, except for it's not a physical address, it's a digital address, and it's called an IP address. And this IP address also has a subnet mask. And right now, just for the purposes of this video, you could just, and this example or this scenario, you can think of the subnet mask as just the zip code for that IP address. So it's just going to get you generally there, and then more specifically is the IP address that gets you specifically to the house in this example. So the packet gets delivered to the postal office, where it's routed to the destination address. So the same occurs when the router receives a packet destined for another network. It just routes the packet there. And so it's just routing these packets and making sure that packet A is getting over and delivered to site B or whatever. And it's just making sure that all of that is getting routed properly, just like the postal service would do. However, whatever protocols they use, right? Which leads me into the next key feature that I wanted to speak about that Cisco does very well is support multiple networking protocols, which is just the language the routers are using to communicate with each other. This is how they're communicating, how to get that packet or that information, that traffic that you're sending, how to get it to its destination. So there's several different protocols, each complete with their own features and their own drawbacks as well, as you'll learn when you're studying. But being able to support multiple networking protocols makes Cisco very flexible and versatile. So now that we described the role of the router, let's break down these top 3 functions that I think everyone should know for, their core knowledge here on this topic. So it's become all too apparent in this information age and consumer instant gratification society that security has even become an afterthought in IT. With all these breaches and everything every other day and ransomware running crazy in the wild, cybersecurity and InfoSec are on the rise, and they're bringing awareness to the importance of security, right? But for network engineers and devs and app developers, software developers that are designing new apps or networks should have a security first mindset. So the very first function you should be familiar with and learn is firewall protection. That's the function that I want to talk about. This function helps secure your network by blocking all the unwanted traffic and allowing the authorized traffic to flow freely. So that's going to be a very important concept that you're going to have to drill down and know about what a router can do as far as one of its functions. Up next is going to be NAT. This function just allows a router to take an internal private IP address and translate it to a public routable IP address. These terms, internal, private, public, routable, we're going to get more into that later on in the exam topics. Just for right now, this surface level, what we need to know and understand about the function in NAT is that it's translating, or mainly it's just changing IP addresses. So the IP address of the device is being changed by the router. And the router is also building a table with all the translations between those public and private IP addresses so that it knows where to send that communication on the network into which device it should be going to. And definitely going to get into NAT and more of that. So just the key to remember about NAT is that it has that ability to change the IP address. And finally, the last function that we're going to talk about in this video, and almost everyone is aware of and has worked with if you're working from home since the pandemic hit like I am, is VPN, or virtual private network. This function secures that network traffic that's out on the internet in an encrypted tunnel, which creates virtually a private network. And all that's saying is that when you are using a VPN connection, that data, when it's leaving that PC, is scrambled. It's not readable. You're to just somebody that's just capturing that data, if they are able to compromise it, or your data does get compromised, it'll be either a deterrent from them trying to get that information because it's so hard, because it's encrypted, or they won't even go after it because it's encrypted and it's worthless to even try to waste their time on it. So that's it. That's my top 3 functions that everybody should know, and the role of the router. And just provide a brief summary here. We just discussed the fundamental role of the router. Remember, that's just connecting networks together, only networks. And the purpose for connecting those networks is to route that traffic between them. Just routing all those packets or those envelopes, getting them to the proper houses where they're going to be, those street addresses and zip codes. Then I explained the top 3 functions, which were, the main one was that firewall protection, to make sure that traffic in and out of the networks is being filtered correctly. Then we also spoke about NAT, which is just responsible for changing that internal IP address to use a single IP address that just faces the internet to communicate. And then VPN, which secures that communication, right? Encrypts your data just in case it's on the internet. It helps protect that data even if it is compromised. Hey, if y'all are new to the channel and just feeling this content, looking for some more simple breakdowns, please like, subscribe. You already know, help the algorithms and all of that there. And I'll see y'all ninjas on that next video. Holla at your boy.